Minister, you talked today about where the RDAs struggled in the past and the role that LEPs will have in your new framework for taking on some of those responsibilities. Bearing in mind that the RDAs had very substantial resources, what powers and resources can we expect local enterprise partnerships to have to tackle these very big challenges?
Well, we were setting out the full details in the white paper, so I must be careful not to give you too much of an exclusive. But what I will say to you is this, that the fundamental difference is actually giving many of the powers back to the local areas, which very often the RDAs have not had, changing the boundaries. I think one of the problems I've found is that communities have said that they've been trying to assess a policy for an area that isn't actually a local economy. If we look at, for example, the way in which I always think of it in the southeastern part of the world, the idea that Hertfordshire is not in the southeast, but Banbury and Dover share the same economic strategy is a nonsense. It doesn't make sense. So getting the boundaries right is important, because then you get a coherence about the area you're trying to help, and then you're able to actually shape the appropriate policies. Coming with that then are the right powers. That's why we're going to be giving back powers to local authorities which have been taken from them, particularly around planning and transport, which has meant that very often they've not been able to forge the right approach for businesses to be able to progress. And then in resources, there are new incentives, including obviously the Regional Growth Fund, but also the new Homes Bonus and the new bonus which will be helping business development, whereby business rates will be retained by local areas. So there'll be a new set of different powers and funds.
Minister, are any of these resources and powers that will be limited to local enterprise partnership areas? That's the thing I think some people are struggling to see the distinction on. What's special about a local enterprise partnership area and under your new...
I think the difference between the RDA and the LEP is actually that they will have a genuine chance to shape the area as they wish to. And there will be some areas that choose not to go down that path, that they wish simply to have a local authority. They can't agree with their business community. I hope there won't be many, but again, I think this is where we've got to move from the old system, which was government insists that you will have what it wants you to have, and actually say to areas, how do you want to develop your area? It's quite a big mindset change, and I understand that, because people have been so used to sort of central controls.
But if I can press you on that, this is an area where you have set up a new kind of structure. You're inviting bids from people to set these entities up, and yet I'm not quite clear what these, once you've won the right to set up this entity, what power you're going to have or what resource you're going to have that a rival area that
I understand
that. To go through that process.
What it means if you're a partnership is that you can then work with the different government departments to deliver many of their programs. In the conference today, we had that discussion around inward investment. What role could a partnership play? Well, that's very much something which actually we think partnerships can be engaged with, is working with the new model on foreign direct investment, so that actually they're integral to that role of drawing new investment into the area. So that's one area where partnerships will be engaged, and we would see as being a priority for them.
Okay. In terms of the bidding process, we're going to have announced between 15 and 22, I think it's been said, successful bids quite shortly. What happens to those places which are unsuccessful bidders? Okay,
where we're at the moment is that we want to move ahead and set out those which have been cleared to progress to the next step. And they will then we will then engage with them, talking about their governance and their roles, and also making sure that they are accountable. So we get that organisation sorted out, and then that will clear them to start talking to government departments about the individual functions they want to undertake. This is a different change in that the RDAs had the money from 5 or 6 different departments into a single pot, and then were able to adjust the funding locally, but very often were found to be spending money that wasn't on one thing that was actually meant for something else. Now, what we want to do is to focus this so that LEPs can say to the Department for Business, we'd like to be a key partner with you in our area on the delivery of, for example, inward investment, or indeed talking to us about how business support can be delivered. So that's where I think the set of new powers will come, but the detail will be in the white paper.
And in terms of those places who aren't successful in their bids, where do they go from there? When they're not in the first round of people who are given the way forward? The
key with this is that these are local initiatives. Right. So if they can't agree with themselves, if they continue to squabble, then that's something they have to sort out. And actually that's a very clear but slightly stark message, and so it should be. because what I think will happen is areas that are still squabbling or aren't failing to engage business community, for example, will see their neighbours advancing and realise that actually they better sort themselves out. So in a way, rather than us trying to come in and dictate and set out new sets of rules and then bring forward criteria in great lists, what we want to say is, if you want to be part of this, come on board. These are the key criteria about business engagement, ambition for growing the economy, the participation of key authorities and so on. Come on board. So there may be in the short term some gaps, but my impression is that having had 58 applications already, that the vast majority of England will be covered by this.
Are you going to define what success looks like in terms of...
No, because I want the local communities to define what their success is. I think this is one of the dangers, which is central government determines a simple, neat line, and then everyone runs to that target and ignores everything else. It distorts behaviour. What we need to do is to let 1,000 flowers bloom.